Within the software, we have a couple different ways of getting your information set up. So we're going to start in the donations tab. We're going to go to the online donations page and then online donation forms. Donation forms, here we go. So the donation forms here, we can use the green box over here to create a donation form. I am going to go through this pretty quickly, kind of assuming that you do have a donation form already set up. But if you don't, you can kind of move along with me here. I am going to go pretty quickly, but if you do have questions about any of these areas, definitely let me know in the questions options below, and we can go into that a little bit more in detail as we're going along here. So first things first, we're going to give this donation form a name. So that name can be maybe end of year giving in this example, or it could be a general donation form. So let's do something simple here. And I'm just going to copy this and paste it into the URL. You can see it adds that in here. I'm going to simplify this a little bit. I'm going to go lowercase and remove the spaces. So it might look a little funky, but this actually can help you if you don't have, or if you have spaces in there. Sometimes you can just miss that it has a space when you copy it. So make it a little bit more simplified here. So you can just say this is our donation form here, end of year giving donation form. So great, we're ready to go there. We do want to save as we go. Once we have something saved, we can then preview what has been saved. And that'll pull that up here. We'll let that think for a little bit there, but it will pull that up there. So we'll just keep going here. So on the left-hand side, we have colors that you can apply. So we have some colors here that maybe we like this green color, so we can select that and you can see it selects there. Maybe we like this blue color, we can apply that. So you can kind of see how that changes and adjusts things as we move along. Can also add a logo. We can either add a logo from our computer or from our library. So from the library, I'm going to pick this logo here, or this icon image. You can see it kind of pushes it across the top of the page here. The web builder or the donation form builder, if you're not familiar with it, does align left. So a smaller image kind of shows that better there. It aligns it to the left. There's currently not a way to adjust that to center it or to the right. So kind of work with that, or you can even, like you saw, you could create a longer rectangular image, and that would fill out more of that screen there. And then we can also pick another image that would show in the main image section. And then if you see down below, we have a headline. So again, I'm just going to type simple information here. We'll say end of year giving is our headline. And then main text is, and again, I'm just kind of filler information so you can see where it goes. So essentially now we have a donation form, we have an image, we have a header image, we have a headline, we have text. So that's the main section. The donor section would allow you to add a address field, which would display down below in the preview here. Can also add custom fields. So maybe we wanted to have like a cell phone number from the donor. And if you don't have custom fields available here, you can add those from the People tab under Contact Configuration. So that's how you would add those and then be able to select those. But we won't go there right now. Just kind of quickly reviewing a donation form just so that we have one. Jump over to the donations area. This is where you can adjust the amounts. So you could add a new amount. So let's do a maybe $25 amount, and we could add a description if we wanted to. We don't have to have a description. You can see when I add that, it does resort here a little bit. So you can use this tiny arrow to resort again to have that smaller number higher or larger number higher. So you can see that's also adjusting our preview on the right-hand side here as well. If you wanted to adjust the description, you can also click on the pencil icon to adjust the description and say, okay, this is for something specific. Let's see if I can spell here. So now we have a very unspecific description here, but kind of giving an idea, an example here. All right, cool. So there's also an option here to do the custom amount, which allows this field right here. If you only wanted to have that like as a suggestion, you could delete all of these other boxes here and just have the custom amount. Or you can add as many amounts as you would like available to your donors. And there's also an options here for one-time or recurring donations. If the recurring donation button is enabled, this is a good way to get people interested in your organization and then have them recur into the next year, which is a great way of end of year giving, get excited about what you guys are doing. So what this button does is if I deselect it, you can see over here that option disappeared. If I reselect it, there you go, make this a recurring donation. Essentially what that does is it allows me to pick when I want this processed. So based on what I pick here, so let's just stick with monthly, and I can say monthly on the first. You also might notice that there's an option here to process my first donation. So if I were to select $25 for an example, you can see that it refills out this text here. If I don't have anything selected, it says 0, or depending on what I have up above. I can say process this donation today, which essentially means that I want my recurring donations to start on November 1st. But because we're towards the end of October, I also am passionate about what you guys are doing as an organization. So I would also say, okay, great. I'm willing to also give $25 for this month, even though next month is right around the corner and I'm going to get another donation processed against my card, within like 3 or 4 days. So that is an option there unless I wanted this to recur on like tomorrow or the 30th, for example. Then it would recur at the end of this month and then at the end of November. So kind of explaining that one a little bit there in detail. The next thing area is the purpose. So depending on how you want to track this as an organization, you can track this to a specific purpose. I've already created an end of year giving purpose, which you can see now that I've added that. Now we kind of have two purposes. You also notice here we have a new field over here that says select a purpose. And now we're saying, okay, you've selected $25. Where do you want that to go? If on your donation form, you only want this information to go to the end of year giving purpose, you can only have that purpose enabled on your donation form, and that option disappears. So that basically says any money that comes from this donation form would automatically flow to this purpose. If you have more than one purpose, again, as an example, using our general purpose, you can resort these if you want to. But if you had more than one purpose, then the donors could pick which purpose they'd like to give to. So kind of options there depending on how you want that set up. Personally, for my demo here, we're going to leave just the end of year giving purpose set up as our example here, because we've titled this our end of year giving donation form. But if you were adding your purpose to an existing donation form, you would just add that from the dropdown. All right. The last options here are allowing the donor to pay the transaction fee, which if we scroll down here, would allow them to select this box to say, yep, I would like to pay the transaction fee for whatever amount I selected. And there's also an option to allow them to add a note. And then you can make the note a required field if you choose, again, making that an asterisk. You can also have a placeholder text. So you can kind of take this prompt here and say, sorry, I cannot spell. There we go. So leave us a message. That kind of is a prompt to say, what do you want to do? What information do you want to gather in this note field? Tell us why, tell us how you got to our forum. Tell us why you're interested in what we want to do. just kind of different prompts that you can have in this placeholder text here to get better data from your donors there. All right. You can also change the text of this button down here. So you could say something like this, and if you're giving, and that would change that button down here. So if we select an amount, it'll highlight that a little bit more clearly. Actually, we might have to enter in contact information, so it may not fill that out more clearly, but once all of the required fields are entered, this would be more highlighted and a lot easier to see. Right now, it's very light and hard to see here, but it does say end of year giving down there. So the next area, pretty quick, is payments. So either credit card or debit or ACH. You can allow both, or you can allow one. So you can say we only want debit or credit cards, or you could say we only want ACH. You might notice there that I cannot deselect both of them. Payment methods are required on these donation forms, so at least one of these has to be selected. And then the last option here is for Google Analytics. That's something that you can create a Google tracker through Google and enter that code in here. That would basically track the amount of page views and clicks on the page, and that's specific to this page or URL. So specific here. So let's save this. And I do want to make a note here on publish. So just saving this, saving is internal. Publishing is making your form live. So just a quick example here, I'm going to publish what we have, and we are going to quickly go to this URL and enter. All right. It's probably going to think a little bit there. There we go. So there is our live form here. Let's make a quick change and add this image up at the top. Let's save it. Now, if you remember, publishing will push this live. So right now, this form, even if we refresh, will not have that image up at the top. So what we need to do is publish it, and then this form will have that image. There we go. So just a quick note on that. If you're not seeing information on your live form that is on your saved form, make sure that you publish it. Okay, so we have a donation form set up. Let's quickly go through setting up a widget if you are interested. A widget is very similar, and we're going to do some similar things here. Just kind of taking information that we already have. And I'm going to clean this description up a little bit, just so I can read this a little bit more easily. Okay, so let's go ahead and save what we have just for now. The difference between a donation form and a widget is that a widget is only able to be applied to a website. A donation form has a link that can be sent to people, it can be texted to people, it can be emailed to people. Basically, it can be displayed basically anywhere anybody has access to see it or click on it. Okay, so widget is only tied to a donation form. So again, very similar information here for the donation area, for the settings, recurring donations, the purpose. Let's switch our purpose around here to end of year giving only. And let's do letting them add a note. And let's add the full address because that's a nice thing to have. And then the payment. So awesome. So really, if, because we took more time on the donation form, it's a pretty quick process to see, okay, this is the same information, just a different style of giving option. So let's save what we have. And you can see if we click try it, we're going to get a pop-up here in a little bit that will show here. There we go. Didn't wait long enough. There you go. So there's our widget right here. So we can say $50, click continue, It's going to autofill my information just because I'm logged in, but we can click continue. And then because the address isn't required, I can actually click past this. And then I can get to the payment information where I can say debit or credit card and then bank account. And so I can basically pick between those two. And then because the required information is not filled out yet, again, this is a light gray here, but once it is filled out, this would be a dark green, just like the continue buttons were. And then you can click on this button here. All right, so we have our donation forms and our widgets created. So now kind of speeding through the process here. Now, how do you get these out to people to share that you have a way to give to your organization for any end of year giving? So that would be from this actions menu over here. This allows you to, for a donation form, allows you to use the software to share your form, which is really cool. You can enter up to 10 email addresses within this email field and just send straight from the software, really easy. You can also send them an email through an email campaign, which we will do in this webinar here, but just as a preview, you can actually use this to preview what that email could look like and say, this is what that email could look like that you could send out to your donors. So kind of cool there to be able to preview that. The next option is to click on the add to my page option here. This essentially gives you the direct link if you are adding this to your website or to a button that you've already created. If you're adding this to social media, this gives you that link again. Or you can also, if you want to use a pre-styled button that Aplos has created, you can select one of these options. So for this one, I'm going to use this button right here because it matches kind of my green theme going on our donation form. So I'm going to pick on this widget or this button here, and then I get code down here. So I'm actually going to copy this code over into my notes area on my other screen. I'm also going to copy my URL as well. So the reason that I'm copying these is I'm going to show you guys how to get these connected to emails or to your website within Aplos. So that's why I'm copying this information. So we're going to add that later. Okay, let's go back to the widget. The widget has the similar option to add to my page. And again, because this is not something that actually has a live link, it does have to be connected to a website. So you can see we don't really have a way to share this. So the only option here would be to add this to your page or your website. And again, here up at the top, we have a code block that would be used if you have already created a button that matches your styling and you wanted to add this code to that button. Otherwise, you can pick one of our pre-styled buttons down here. And just to be different, so you can see the difference here, I'm going to pick this second option here, which highlights green when I hover over it. And I'm going to copy this onto my notes over on the other side over here, just to have that information. Okay, cool. So we have our donation form, we have our donation widget. How do we get those connected to our website? So we're going to jump into the marketing area within Aplos. We're going to go to our website, and we're going to go to pages and menu. And we're going to go to the home page using these three dots over here, going to edit the page. And it's going to think a little bit here, just because it might be loading a lot of information. Okay, so let's see if we can get this in here. So we're going to see if we can add content here. There we go. So I don't know what's going on with our internet over here, but I just moved a little bit. We're back in business, so a little bit odd here. But I'm going to pick a kind of box of some kind. So this looks cool to me. So there we go. So now we have kind of a content block and we have an image. We can do a lot of work here, but just for our example today, what we're going to do is go to the code block area over here. So this is how you would access the code within Applos, within the website builder. Personally, I like to use this icon to expand what I can see. So this kind of helps me understand a little bit more easily what's happening. Basically, all of the text that is in black is the information that is actually typed in here. So less is more is text. This weird dummy text is text. So when I expand that, I get color coordination that helps me say, oh, okay, here is my paragraph, and essentially I want to add my donation forms above this paragraph. So we're going to grab our first donation form and add that above the paragraph. Okay, we're going to click OK, and boom, there we go. So we're going to do the same thing for our other donation form. And we're going to add that, let's see, let's add that a little bit different place here. Maybe let's add that above less is more. So we'll go back in here, expand a little bit here. So here's less is more. We'll just add it above that and we'll click OK. So there we go. So now we have two buttons that we've added, essentially using the code block that we have available to us, and added that into our website pretty easily here. Let's go ahead and save this. I'm saving and publishing that. So there we go. So now we can go and view this on the web, or we can even click on these while we're kind of in this preview. So this second one, if you remember, was our donation form. So if we click on that, it's going to take us to our donation form, which is really cool. The first one is our donation widget, which if we click on, pops up our widget here. So really cool stuff there, pretty easy to do. If you wanted this donate button to open up in a new page, we can edit this. So if we go to the link, we can say open in a new window, and that would open that in a new window. And of course, we can go back and save and publish, and then we can open up. So now you can see it opened it up in a new tab for me. So really cool stuff there. So essentially, really quick on how to get that information into the software. So really quickly how to get that into a website. So hopefully that helps you guys out there if you're using Applos. Otherwise, if you're using a different website builder, essentially really all you need is either code blocks, so either this code or this code, and you need to be able to adjust or edit your HTML, which is in Applos, which is right here. Kind of looks like this with all of this weird jumbled text that you may or may not understand. And essentially all you need to do is add it within the right area within that code for it to display on your website. So pretty easy stuff there. Okay, so now that you have added it to your website, you can then tell everybody, hey, we have a really cool donation form. It's on our website, go check it out. How else can you use the software to benefit you to send out information to people about your donation form? So we are going to be within the marketing area, and we're going to go to the emails and email templates. And we have a area where we can create a template. And essentially, I've already created my webinar example template. This is one I use fairly frequently. So I am going to remove all of this information just to show you guys how to add it. So I've removed all that information. I'm going to use this option here to add a logo. So let's pick this option just because that's kind of what our theme is for this year. And then we want to add a section here. So let's go ahead and add a full content section. You can see kind of this larger box here displays what type of content blocks are created. And then within the content blocks, we can add a text option, an image, a button, a divider, or a space. I'm going to show you guys 3 different ways to get your live donation form link connected to your email campaign. So let's go ahead and do a text option here. And we're just going to keep it simple and say, all right, so again, kind of filling in the blank here. Hopefully you guys have some copywriters that are better at this than I am. But essentially here we have, here's what's happening and here's how to give to us. So, and I'm saying use this link. So what link? So how do I add that? So I can use this button right here to add a link. If I were to highlight the text, maybe I say, highlight all of this and then select this, I can insert a link, which again, back to my notes. Here is my donation form link right here. You can see it's just a link. It has an HTTPS. So basically that's a URL or website. That can be added right here. Again, you can remember I can click on open in a new tab, which is really nice. So let's go ahead and click insert. So now that highlights when I move over it. I could also do it a different way and just outside of a text box, I can just say, okay, I just want to put in the whole thing. So and kind of do that thing. You can see there it does kind of adjust to only show a piece of the link, but you can see this is still live if I were to click on it. So kind of 2 different options within a text field. Okay, so another thing, the nice really thing about I'm going to remove this one just because we have it here. The nice thing about our email builder is we can do what are called custom fields within the email builder, and we can say dear first name. So essentially what that does is then I can use this to send out to multiple people and have it a little bit more personalized by pulling their first name into the email, which is really nice. So let's save that. And let's add another way of getting our information out there. So we can use a button. And I like to align this button to the middle. We can adjust, maybe we want this button a little bit bigger. We can change the text here to say, and make it easier to understand what this button is. And then you can see here we have an option to add a link, which again, I'm using that same link that I have copied. And if we wanted this button to match our styling colors, we can adjust the content over here. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. So we can adjust the content here, and we have an eyedropper tool where you can say, I like this green, and for the border, I like that green as well. There we go. So now our button matches our styling. So it's a nice way to do that. You can also, if you know the color, you can enter in its code or its percentages or its value, its hex value. So different ways to get that same color in there. All right, so now we have a button. Last option here, kind of outside the box, is an image. So we can add an image. Let's pick on this image again here. We can add an image, and to that image, we can add a link. So again, adding that link here. We can do alignment options here. With the larger rectangular image, the alignment doesn't really do a lot. But let's just center it just for good measure. Okay, so now we have 3 different links. That's the same link, but 3 different ways to add a link to your email, which is really cool. You can make it, in the text, to a button, or to an image. So let's save and exit, and then we can jump right back in. Let's look at the preview. And here's the preview. And so here's saying, dear sample first name, just kind of filling in the blank for us of saying, this is what we're looking for. Here's the first option for the link. So if we click on that, there's our donation form. Very cool. Here's a second option for our button. Click on that. It opens it up within that preview. And we might do preview one more time. The last option here for the image would open up the donation form as well. So you may have noticed as I'm previewing this that when I hover over this on the bottom left, you can see the URL. So that's showing when I hover over any of these options, kind of a way to show where this is going. So another way to get that connected there. Okay, so now that we have a donation forms added to our email template, what's next? So once we have the template created, we need to then create an email. So creating an email can be done just clicking on that option, giving it a name. So, oops. And I'm going to use the same description for the campaign, but this is kind of on the back end. This would help you find it later on in the sent campaigns. The subject line, this is what the recipients will see. So you can again say end of year giving, or you can make it, make it more direct, make it more specific. The sender by default is comms@aplos.org. If you would like to send from your own domain, you can add that domain if you would like to authenticate it. Our support team can definitely help kind of guide you through that process. But by default, it is comms@aplos, but you can add a reply to if you would like. Okay, the next option is adding the content, which we've already done. So you can see we have a checkbox here. So we could edit that template if we wanted to. We can view a preview of that template. We can change it. But we're going to skip past that because we've already got that template looking the way we'd like. We're going to jump into adding recipients. So this is where we kind of might need to pause here if you don't have a list already created. We can either target a smart list, a regular list, or a specific contact or multiple contacts. So I have already created a regular list of Giving Tuesday contacts, but let's just say that I had not done that yet. So I'm going to save that. You can see it's in my drafts folder, so I can come back to this. Under the marketing area, if I go to lists, it will take me to my lists. This is also available under the People tab under Lists as well. It's the same place, just two different ways to get there. So you can see Giving Tuesday Contacts has 0 in it. So if you have a list created and you want to add people to that list, click on the list, click on the plus, and we'll add me. There we go. So save. There we go. Now we have one contact in that list. You can also do using a smart list. And we can say, we really want to send this to basically anybody that has an email address. So we'll go to email and is not empty. Basically saying, if they have an email address, add them to this list. So if I click on the preview here, we have our 6 contacts available to me. I've actually already created this list. So we can go back into our smart lists here. And it's right here, my end of year giving list. So it's the same filter. Email is not empty. So here's my 6 people. So depending on which list I wanted to use, we can go back to marketing, go back to emails. We can actually skip ahead and go to email campaigns now because we have our draft here. We can click on our draft and we can go to the recipients area and edit the recipients area. So you can see now that we've added somebody to that list, now it's showing that we have 1 contact. We can also target the end of year giving smart list, which has 6 people on it. So now we can say, now we're sending this to 7 people total. All right, so I'm going to leave it as the smart list here, just as a bigger example. There's options here to either select the consent or to send to all available email addresses. This consent to email is a required field. What's this can kind of gives you a hint about what is considered consent. So express consent or express permission means that the person you're emailing asked to be emailed. So they opted in using a form, they verbally asked you, or they completed a paper form. And then implied consent means that you have an existing business relationship, which in the nonprofit world means that they donated to you. So that is a key word there, that they donated to you. So that is implied consent, or that you've emailed them within the last 2 years. Those are the two ways that you could legally click this box in good conscience. The second option here is for if somebody had a home email address and a work email address. Maybe the work email address is marked as primary, but you know that they may not check their work email address if you're sending this on a weekend. You can then send this campaign to both their home and their primary email address based on what's entered within the software. All right, so next option is to schedule it. You can pick a date and time to send this out. So you can say, we want to send this out maybe at the beginning of November, just kind of get people interested and excited about what's going on. Pick a date and a time zone, and then that would essentially schedule the software to send it out based on that day range. There's also something people frequently miss here is there's an option to send a test email. So instead of kind of creating one campaign, sending it to yourself to see how it looks, you can send a test email to up to 5 email addresses to kind of see how it looks without finalizing the campaign. So that is an option there. Otherwise, you can click on the send it now to say, yep, I'm ready to send this. And it says it's sending. So the email sender sends every 5 minutes on the 5-minute mark. So that might not make that much sense right now, but essentially this will send, most likely will send at 10:50, just because I'm a little past the 5-minute mark. So if I had sent this at 10:39, it would show sent around 10:45. But since this was scheduled at 10:41, most likely it won't send until 10:50. So what I mean by that is you can see all of these are on the 5 minutes, but they are on increments of 5. So it will send 40, 45, 25. There's no in between there. So because I sent this a little bit after 10:40, it's going to wait a little bit longer. So essentially all that really means is wait at least 10 to 15 minutes before panicking and saying, what happened here? Why isn't this going anywhere? So ideally, this will send at 10:50, which we'll come back and check. But we'll move on from this section here to the last couple options available to you guys. So everything that I've been talking about before this point has been included in your subscription. So it's already something that you have and can use and don't have to have any extra add-ons for. We do have 2 additional features that you can use to reach out to people. The first option is from the donations area under online donations. This is text to give. So text to give is an additional feature. It's an extra $20 a month. So essentially it gives you a 800 number that you can use and then give people instructions to text this number, the word give, and then an amount. So for example, 5, and then a code. You can see I've already set up a purpose and a short code or code that essentially you could then say on your website or on a banner or basically anywhere that somebody could see this, text the word give to this number and then GIVTUES. So essentially give 5 GIVTUES. So that would then send $5 to your organization fairly quickly without you having to set up a donation form, without you having to do a lot of work. It just gives you a number and then very simple instructions on how to give to a specific code. If you don't have a code here, let's go ahead and remove this. If you don't have a specific code for that you want to use, you can use this plus icon here. Pick a purpose that you have already created. So again, I'm just kind of recreating that purpose that we removed. And we can kind of put it back right there, save and close, and it adds that here. If you do not have a purpose that you want to use from this dropdown, you do need to create that from donations under purposes and have that created here. So if it does not exist in your purposes section, it cannot be applied to text to give. Okay, so that's the first option as an additional feature. The second option as an additional feature is from the marketing area under bulk texting. This is also an additional fee, and it's $20 a month for the first 500 texts. And after that, it does increase on 1,000 text tiers. So kind of has a little bit of a different pricing structure there. But essentially what this does is it allows you to send texts to people through the software, kind of giving them, similar to an email, giving them information about who you are and how to give to you guys. So, and here's a previous text that I've created as an example. It says, Giving Tuesdays right around the corner. Check out our website for more details. Kind of pushing people towards our website to see if they're interested. And we can see there's some options here for delivered and unsubscribed. You can also see that I have 6 invalid recipients. I was using the same list that I created before. So essentially, these first 2 have a phone number, but that phone number may not be a mobile number. And then these last 4 don't have a primary phone that's marked as a mobile phone. So this kind of gives me a hint of, okay, I need to refresh and review these contacts to make sure that I have an actual phone number that is able to receive texts for these first 2. And these last 4 probably don't have a phone number at all. So that's why we have an invalid phone error showing there. Okay, if you want to create a campaign, you can use this green box. Give the campaign a name, add your recipients. For this one, the recipients for a bulk texting campaign, it only targets a list. It doesn't target a smart list. So here's my Giving Tuesday contact list. And then it also will target individuals. If you scroll down, you can get to the contacts area. You can target specific individuals. So maybe I could add myself and then add somebody else here. So just different options there of people I can add, and then I can type out my message with a 160 character limit. So typing out that message there does have to be a little bit short, but you have 160 characters to create and craft your message. Okay, so let's go double check back on our campaigns. There we go, 6. So it did send at 10:45. So that's what I was saying. It could send at 10:45. It could have sent at 10:50. So kind of looking back here, we can see that this one was sent to 5 contacts. 3 of them were delivered. So that probably means that 2 didn't deliver. So if we actually click on this, we can get a little bit more information. And we can see these were successfully sent. The only real email address is right here. So because I actually haven't opened this email, it doesn't show as opened yet. Because I haven't clicked anything, it doesn't show as clicked yet. But this would change if I were to go in and open that and click on it. I would say yes to both of those. And then we have down below here, we have 3 undelivered, which again, these are not real email addresses. So that's why they were undelivered, is just they couldn't go anywhere. So there's kind of more details on that email campaign. If we wanted to use this campaign again, we can use this actions option over here. we can copy the campaign. And that pops it back up into the top here. We can edit and we can adjust the subject. We can adjust who it's coming from. We can adjust the email template that we're using. We can adjust the recipients, and then we can resend it. Okay, so that covers all of our topics for today. I am going to check here if there are any questions about everything that we've covered. I know that I covered a lot of information all in different places, so I know it can be a lot to take in. But let me check if there's any questions here. So there's a question here about someone already has a general giving form. Do they need to set up a separate form for end of year giving? That's really up to you and your organization. You can either set up a separate giving form, or you could add the purpose for end of year giving to your currently existing donation form, and then just remind people that that is an option. There is no right or wrong way to do it. It really depends on how your organization wants to track things. All right, so again, we do have time here for questions. So as you guys are typing your questions, I'm going to go over how you can get in touch with our team. So we can be reached a couple different ways. The first way is using this button down here in the bottom right. This is our chat option. So you can write into our team, you can send us a message. This kind of sort of is like a text message. Sometimes you send a text to somebody, they respond back really quickly. Sometimes it takes them a while. So kind of take that same approach to this option here of we might respond really fast, and it might take us a little bit longer to respond depending on the question that you're asking, depending on how many questions are coming in at that time. Generally, our goal is to respond to you within 5 minutes. So that's our goal, but that's not like a hard set fast rule. So you can send a message to our team starting a conversation. If you have written into our team previously, there's an option here to see all of the conversations that you've had with us. Maybe you asked a question a couple of days ago and you open this back up and you can say, wait, where did my answer go? You can click on this to see all your previous conversations. You can also, if you are a self-taught type of person, you can use this question mark icon up here. And you can use this option to search. So we can say donation forms. And here we go, online donation forms. And here we go. So here's a video and kind of step-by-step directions similar to what we've covered today in our webinar. So if you prefer to read things or if you want written instructions about what we covered as well, this is where you can find it. And also within this area, you still have access to the question or the chat feature as well. But the key here is if you click on this talk to support, our number and hours are listed here. So we are from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, and we can be reached at 888-274-1316. Or if you prefer, you can email us using this form. Or over here on the right-hand side, we also have our direct email as well. So there's different ways of reaching out to us. We do want to thank you guys for using Aplos, and we hope you guys have a great rest of your day.